Okay, folks, sorry about that. Getting the show stuff ready on the website. Now I know Mr. Abel had to go to. Tell you what, tell you some fun stuff there. So you're going live on the website. We're live on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. So I'm going to start this music. I'm going to edit this for a podcast later. Upload to No Vision Internet Radio. Mr. Abel. Hi, Mr. Abel. All right.
Hey, what's up, George? How you doing today?
I'm doing good. So I'm going to play the intro music, and then we're good to go.
Okay.
Mr. Abel Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez is from Mimeros del Español and Dialogue Internet Radio. No, is that Dialogue Podcast now, right?
Well, I have a podcast, but I have actually the podcasting platform that is called dialogueep.com. I also name it Dialogue Internet Radio Network. And there's where I do all the podcasting. It's not just me, you know. I mean, I'm part of it, but I'm a programmer, so I got podcasts that talk about small business and restaurants and all kinds of stuff with Annie's Adventures. I have the Tony the Tagger Sumble podcast that tells you every week what's going on as far as the teams that are being looked at, and also how you can win a pair of tickets to the game on December 31st at 10 a.m. at the Sumble. And then I'm working on my podcast, which is Dialogue Podcast with Abel Rodriguez. That's my political and cultural and whatever I want to put on their podcast. So that's 3 programs. I used to be with me. That would have been my 4th program. And I got a couple of interesting things coming up. I have, I don't know if you remember Mojo.
Yes.
And Mojo's still around and still kicking butt. And she is getting me, getting the network an interview with the guy that's running for Attorney General for the state of Texas.
Really?
On the Republican side against Dan Patrick.
Really? Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, people that are watching this on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, hello, or listening to this on our website, which is novisioninternetradio.com. All this, folks, all this jazz started because of Mr. Abel. Mr. Abel put that little bug in my blood 8 years ago. And ever since then, now I have my own platform, thanks to Abel, and He's been a great
We gotta
supporter.
talk about how we met because it was through Hector Montes,
Hector Montes, yeah.
who was my co-host when we were on 1650 AM Talk Radio, and you would come onto the show, And
Do you remember the very first time? I think it was you or Abe, you or Hector, huh?
excuse me, our very first time.
No. The first time we met on the radio.
Oh,
But remember when we were on the show and you're like, we're gonna tell you, we're gonna signal when you're going to break. I'm like, crap, I can't see. So Mr. Bautista would tap me on the leg, like or you. I think Hector or one of you would tap me on the leg, saying that we're going to break. But so really, the discussion today is going to be talking around the minor football and basketball, and because Abel, folks, I don't know if you know this, he has a Facebook page we should follow called Mineros en Español, and he did a lot of stories and broadcasts or follow-ups regarding UTEP sports. He has the volleyball. I've seen that. The basketball. You were at the basketball practice and football. So, Abel, before had the game started, was Ole Miss yet or not yet?
It starts at 5:30.
Okay, so what do you...
And you can see it on ESPN3 after we finish. You can go catch the game on ESPN3. It's like, I guess it's like the ESPN Ocho.
Okay, yeah, right. That's the stepchild.
Yeah,
but what do you
go to the net to watch it?
what do you think? What do you predict?
Well, before we get started on that, because I mean it's always fun to just jump straight in, but I want to tell you how we got here today. And it was quite a journey. I was working at the local Univision affiliate, and I was the promotions and public outreach director. I'm a proud graduate, 1981. Of the University of Texas at El Paso, got a degree in mass communications. And,
what a coincidence!
But I got to tell you the story about sports, okay? Because it all started actually with graduating from UTEP, and then getting hired 2 weeks later as a stringer at Channel 7. And I don't know if you remember the name Marcy Galaviz, but Marcy Galaviz was a well-known older guy who was a pretty big there at Channel 7. And it was Channel 13 before it was Channel 7, because they swapped channels with KCOS. Because
I remember that.
All
okay,
the ABC affiliates like to be the number 7. So anywhere you go in America, ABC 7 is going to be pretty much
the lucky 7,
huh? With the call letters of whatever city they're from. But so I get in as a stringer, George, and of course I just graduated from college. I had done a lot. I was already, working radio, and I'd done a lot anyway. So I get in as a stringer. Okay, now a stringer was somebody that worked from like 8:00 at night till 8:00 the next day, and the job was to look for nothing but blood and guts. Okay, fatal accidents, shootings, stabbings. We didn't do suicides, but even back then there was a lot of suicides in this town. And that's the kind of stuff that goes on at night, the nightlife of El Paso. And so I was paid, George, 20 cents a second.
What?
20 cents a second for every second of videotape that I shot that got onto the newscast. So if I did a story for somebody and it was a minute 40, it was 20 cents times a minute 40.
Okay. 90 cents.
So every story that I did, I would log in, and I would, at the end of the month, all those seconds tallied into money.
A paycheck.
But think about it, you couldn't do that nowadays.
Heck no.
20 cents and all that kind of stuff. But I loved it. But because of that, I was hired 3 months later full time as a cameraman, and I became the chief photographer there at Channel 7. And also, I was the weekend assignments editor. I worked in journalism, without a journalism degree, but I mean, it wasn't that hard to know how a news room runs. Definitely a pecking order, by the way. You don't mess with the anchors.
What year was this, Abel?
Huh?
What year was this?
1981.
Okay.
Graduated in May. 2 weeks later, hired stringer. 3 months later, full-time staff.
Wow.
Right before the football season. Okay.
Okay.
And it so happened that the fall of that year, Channel 7 had the minor sports, to do reporting on. And that's how I got to meet Coach Haskins.
Okay.
And because he would come in, and also in football, okay, since I was a good football photographer, I was allowed to follow the team with the reporter when they were in the WAC and go to Fort Collins, Colorado,
Yeah.
Laramie, Wyoming, you know, stuff like that, and also because of my profession and being good at it early, I was able to have my first commercial plane flight without paying for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if it wasn't for sports, I would have never flown until probably later. But you follow the team around, you learn how to fly. And it's not a glamorous thing. Okay, you're going, especially if you're going as a reporter or photog, because you're just another part of the number of people that are on the plane going to the game. So you got to worry about getting on a bus and making sure your equipment is all in there. And then a bus drive from a big city, even with a whack, you go from a big city, went to
Like
Denver.
Wyoming, right?
Well, we flew into Denver, and we took a bus to Laramie, Wyoming, right next door. Things like that, and then you see that, wow, this is, as a player, you're going through all this. It's a pain in the to go through that just to get into a game and get ready to play and represent your university, and that is how I started following UTEP sports. I was already following it anyway when I was going to school there. I was in español se dice fanático because I was a fanatic.
Yeah.
I was UTEP all the way, no matter who we played. Okay, and I've been, I'm way past that time, but during that time of the reign of Abel Fanático, I was thrown out of New Mexico State gyms like twice.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Now, let me ask you this: when you're like, because like you said, the glamour. Like when you told me that, back in the day we used to talk, about sports and all that. You would tell me that you would go on the team. I asked you, but I want to ask you on air. I mean, like when the football players finish, do they leave right away, or do they stay over, or how does that work?
No, you're good. You're getting on a bus and heading back to a small municipal airport, or riding a bus to the big airport to get the plane back to El Paso that night.
Okay.
So imagine, and I'll just give you this example. We went all the way to Virginia to play Old Dominion when I was still doing the games in Spanish on the radio, and 4 hours and 20 minutes on the plane. 4 hours and 20 minutes to get to Virginia. So I mean, if that's glamorous, and you're with a bunch of guys that are thinking nothing about game, and everyone has their earplugs in, and you get a box lunch.
So you mean if the game finishes at like 11, you still have to?
You still have to wait for everyone to get to the plane, okay? Because understand one thing especially about football travel. All the equipment guys, they take an 18-wheeler with all the equipment, and they leave like 4 days or 3 days before to get to the site to be there ready for all the equipment to come out. And then the players fly in, and they got their stuff. And as soon as you get to the hotel the day before the game, they're already breaking up into all their meetings. You're looking for a place to eat, with all the other dignitaries, and then you're waking up early because the main guy for the minors, John Teicher, he doesn't want any problems, so he believes in getting to the stadium 3 hours before the game.
Wow, really?
Yes, that drove me crazy because we didn't have the same kind of setup. So I was like, oh my God, what do we do for 2.5
3 hours?
But anyway, so you set all your equipment up, and then people start coming in, they're warming up on the field, and then the game starts, and then it's going on, and then it ends. All right, and when it ends, with Spanish, we would just say goodbye because we didn't have a post game.
Okay.
So we would tear everything down, and we'd be the first ones down to get ready to load the stuff into the bus to get to a municipal airport. In some cases, like Hattiesburg, it has a small municipal airport. So that's where they're at today, in Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Okay.
And so they get to the municipal airport, and the miners, they're, for the last couple of, I'd say easily 8-10 years, they charter flights. So it's a charter.
Let me ask you this, Abel. For the biggest, your experience of traveling with a team, would you travel with a basketball or just a football?
I traveled basketball for a little while with John Teicher. I was, and back then he was, when we would travel, it would only be him doing the English and me doing the Spanish.
Oh wow. Okay.
And that was traveling basketball is crazy because it's 2 games a week.
Ouch.
So you're flying for a Thursday game, and then from there, hopefully you're not too far away, or you're flying for another game on Saturday.
Okay.
Or
Because that'll be kind of a long way.
A lot, man. I have driven all through the south of the United States of America,
Right?
and it's nothing but trees.
You know,
Trees.
one play I'll never forget, Abel, and this is when I could still see. I mean, going back to Eddie Rivera and Marlon Maxey and Jim, the Brad, he passed away. What was his name? Jim Bice?
Jim Bice.
Well, anyways,
Yeah, the little short guard.
the one play I always remember from basketball, I'll never forget, is when Hawaii was playing here at UTEP, and Eddie Rivera was blocking. I don't know who it was, but the guy was bouncing the ball, coming to midfield, midline, and 2 seconds or whatever, he throws the ball, and he made it. I'm like, what? That's for some reason I'll never forget. I guess because I was at the game, but I'll never forget that play. I'll never.
That's the most
What?
exciting play in basketball, winning on the last second shot.
Mm-hmm.
And today in football, I mean, I don't know if you're watching college football, but I mean, who was it? It was Arkansas against Old Miss, and Arkansas caught up, and there was no time remaining on the clock, and they went for the 2 points to try to win, and they didn't make it.
Oh, they didn't.
No, and look what happened to Texas.
So what's up with Texas? I saw it was a real good. Was it? I didn't have a chance to watch it. Was it a good game?
I don't know what's up with Texas. I mean, they're ranked 21st in the nation. All their alumni was like, ooh, 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 ooh. But Texas still has, some things to deal with as far as really having a team hit on all 8 cylinders. That's why them going to the, what are they going to the 8, what is it?
The 12 team. The 12 team.
Yeah, they're trying, the ACC? I forget which one they're trying to go to. Anyway.
They're going to the SEC.
SEC, yeah. So
yeah.
Well, I'll look it up right now. But the thing is that they're never going to have the same kind of success that they had before, where they were always on top. And that's the hard conference. Hard conference.
Yep, that's how the powerhouses.
So it's going to take them a while to even play around at number 4 and number 3, man. Because come on, Alabama. That's all you got to say.
Right. Yep. And I'm surprised LSU's not even ranked this year, are they?
No, but those guys they're starting to play pretty good.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. Now that we're going into football, the predictions and the playoff. I know you have the Tony the Tiger podcast, folks. You should watch it. It's pretty neat. I mean, who's your guest?
Eddie Morelos is the media relations director for the Sun Bowl Association. So he's the media director for everything, for the football, the basketball tournament. We talk about the parade, and then we talk about the one thing that I tell people is you can win tickets to the game for free. All you got to do is go and predict each week the teams that they have on their contest. It's the Sun Bowl. It's the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl Challenge, sponsored by Boss Chicken, and every week you got a chance to win a pair of tickets. And then out of all those winners, on the playoff weekend, you got a chance to win an even bigger package. So why not get into that? Instead of wasting your money on FC with a sports book.
As of today, well, your last show was Thursday, or what? Yeah, I think it was Thursday. What the predictions as of right now? Who may come to the Sun Bowl?
Oh man, you had to ask me. I have to bring them up.
Oh, okay.
there's some. That's what the internet's for. I didn't pop that page, but. Wait a minute. I think I did put it in. Well,
I know you put it.
I'll look for it while we're talking.
Yeah, but the thing is, the cool thing about it, guys, is this year, because last year we didn't have it, of course, because of the pandemic, and this year. But this year it's going to be earlier, huh?
Yeah, it's going to be at 10.
Why is that? Why is that?
I don't know. It was a CBS thing.
Oh, okay.
But I will tell you that just means that people will start. Downing adult beverages.
7 o'clock in the morning, right?
No, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
I know my gente.
Let me ask you this, Abel, because you've been around. I mean, you've literally been on the ground with the football players when they play, and you can see their attitudes, and So how has it been changing? I mean, granted they're 4-1, but they really haven't got into Conference USA play yet. Today.
Wait! No, Old Dominion was a Conference USA.
That's what I'm saying. I was going to rephrase that.
Conference, man. I'm going to say it until it's not the truth.
Like,
Right now
well,
they're 1-0, and now they got
Ole Miss.
Southern Miss.
Southern Miss.
coming. Yeah, Southern Miss. I always mix it up too. I always think it's all. The
Yeah.
Ole Miss is the big college. Southern Miss is the little baby college.
Yeah, right. Well, let me ask you this.
Like Hattiesburg, Mississippi is not big.
It's not.
Not big.
No.
As a matter of fact, it's
Well-
the home of Tim Floyd.
Well, let me ask you that. Chris Jackie came from where? I mean, not Chris Jackie. Brett Favre. He played at where? Ole Miss or Southern Miss? Do you remember?
Brett Favre was a quarterback for Southern Miss when we played him in the
The Weed
bowl
Whacker
game.
Independence Bowl.
yeah,
Remember
in
that?
bowl game. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, when Chris Jackie was the kicker. I remember that. Yeah. Well, let me ask you, how did it change the past few years? I mean, but you being on the field and seeing the players, I mean, their attitude and all, has the head coach really made a difference, or is it just by the players, or what do you think, in your opinion? Oh, I can't hear you. Can't hear Abel. So right now, there he is. I think we went blank, or we went Abel. Well, as he's coming back online, I hope that the Miners this year they're 4-1. Hopefully they'll be 5-1. 2 more games they'll be eligible for a bowl game. So I'm not sure. It's different this year about the bowl games. I know they're going to a 12-game, or I'm not sure if this year or next year, a 12-game playoff berth for the BCS. I don't even know if it's called the BCS anymore. But I know we lost Abel, so let me see if we get him back online. Because I'm not really the expert when it comes to stuff like that. He is. Let me see with him. There he is.
You popped
There you
me
go.
on there. Okay. Sorry.
There you go.
I hit the wrong button.
That's okay.
My bad.
But I don't know if you heard about the.
So, like I was telling you, Southern Miss is a very small, well, not very small, but it's a college in a small town called Hattiesburg. Okay, and believe it or not, it happens all the time with the Miners. When they weren't winning, they've selected the Miners as their homecoming game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that means that you really believe that you can have a party, bring your alumni,
Oh, I get you.
beat the hell out of somebody, and then go party again after the game's over.
Well, before we got interrupted, I'll ask you about the question about would you be on the field? Literally seeing the players. Has this head coach philosophy or is it helping? Is it building the team now, or is it just the players we're getting better players? What do you think, Abel? Because I remember you telling me sometimes you would see the players just frustrated in practice or whatnot. Do you see the difference now?
Well, I guess the game started at 5 because I can go ahead and give you the score right now.
Okay.
The Miners are up 7-6 in the first quarter.
Really? All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was funny because I'm going through newspaper stuff and all that from Hattiesburg, and they got the game up. So.
Okay. So.
I guess, 6
Do
p.m.
you miss those days, Abel, when you're doing the live broadcast?
Of course I do. And it's not because it has everything to do with ad revenues. Okay. And
Sure.
I'll tell you the story before we talk about the game. So let's talk about El Paso, Juarez, Las Cruces. In that area, there are probably, I'd say, 85 to maybe even 90% Hispanic surnames. All right.
Okay. Yes, sir.
And in that group, okay, people would argue with me. Well, not all of them speak Spanish. So I would say, okay, you know what? I'll give you back 20% of the 85%. That still leaves 65% of the market that should try to be reached in their language of Spanish. And, UTEP is also known for having a lot of Mexican nationals that go to school there, that graduated from there, that have gone on to be huge successes.
Yes, sir.
So why not? I was at Univision here in the town, and it only made sense, and people like athletic, he's an athletic manager, he's in the athletic department, Jeff Darby, who had just gotten here. He didn't even know what was going on, and I took him to Juarez, and he saw, and plus how many teams, how many Division I teams along the U.S.-Mexico border are there?
Yep, there isn't.
And
You're right.
not only that, the Spanish newspapers would cover. So you got international coverage, right?
Yes, sir.
Across the international border. That's more than just local general market, level stuff. And that's what I tried to convince them. And actually, the first game we did was at Boise, Idaho, when they went to play Boise in a bowl game. And I had never been to Boise, and our salespeople said, "That's a good idea. Let's go." They went and sold it. We had to pay for plane flights and hotel, and then we had to get to the stadium.
Wow.
And we get there, and this is one of those early bowl games, okay? Like early, like 10 o'clock bowl games that was going to be on TV. And so we drive in there, and I'm not kidding you. We're there before the sun comes up, and there's tailgating parties with flaming 55-gallon
Really?
barrels. They're all partying. Yeah, that Boise backs Boise State with not a problem.
Yeah, and they're a good team too.
We get there, and then we're going up to the press box, and then we are told that there is no room for us inside the press box.
Really?
That we would have to do the game from outdoors, and there was a side tent that had a feed heater blower. Because guess what? There was a storm that was coming in to snow. So we're outside bundled up, and they even did Ray Sanchez did a story on it, and showing us in a picture, and we're all bundled up.
Wow.
And we're drinking coffee and trying to stay warm. As over there's no mountains, so these snowstorms
coming straight.
they come over straight in, and they start snowing. And guess what? Depending on the wind, they double back.
Ouch. Ouch. That was. And you have to do a live show.
Huh?
And you have to do a live show without.
Yeah, we did the game, and that was the beginning of me being involved in the Spanish side of wanting to help market to the public and make some money, obviously for my corporation and for the agreement we were in with UTEP. It's all about money.
Yeah.
So but I got to do the games, and it was great. It was great to start like that. I've done bowl games. I've done NCAA tournament games, basketball.
Okay.
It's a wonderful thing because I love the miners so much.
Well, what stadium or arena, either or, that you said that was impressive the first time you saw it? 'Cause I know you've been to them over and over, but the very first time, you're like, wow, that is a really nice facility. Is there one that really kind of stood out to you?
Man, if you really want to know the truth, the Sun Bowl is the best facility in Conference USA. Period.
Really?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Now,
Okay.
when Memphis was playing, they actually played in this place called the Pyramid, and it was this big, huge indoor Memphis Tigers, but they're not in the conference anymore. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, they're not the Tigers. Yeah, I remember the Memphis Tigers.
No, they're not. They left.
Okay, that's right.
And it was becoming a big rivalry in basketball, but they left. So I still say it's the Sun Bowl. Other than when we did the bowl game over in Houston at the Texans stadium.
Oh, really?
Now, that was a megapolis stadium, man.
I remember we went to
were
New York.
easily like 15 stories above. It was amazing.
I remember when you went to New York. Remember for the.
Oh no. But see, once again, you're telling me to rate the stadium.
Yeah.
The stadium at Annapolis. Oh, and that's the Navy. I'm sorry. The Army. I forget where they play.
Yeah.
West Point.
West Point. Yes, sir.
It's such a historic area that their stadium is not that big.
Okay.
It's just being there. It's what makes it feel bigger than life.
Yeah. Now, is it when you went to New York? Did you see the 9/11 memorial?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No. Yeah, that. See, that's another thing. At least there, we were there a day early, so right away they say if you want to go, you got to get in the van now. And for people that gives them stuff to do, they dropped us off at Manhattan, and we went all over the place. Took the subway, walked around. It's really sad to see, the actual crumpled up stuff that's still in there.
Oh, they're still there?
That
Okay.
They used as a museum. Pretty. The pool that's there with all the names.
Wow.
Just to know that I was there,
Yeah.
was it's a special thing. Being able to follow the team around. One of the
Well,
trips that I wish I had gone on that I never got to go on,
Hawaii.
Hawaii.
I bet you. I'm about to say Hawaii.
Damn.
Yeah, I bet you Hawaii. Yeah, that would be anybody. To tell you the truth. Let me ask you this, Abel. Going from, well, let me have. I've been seeing you putting a lot of volleyball. Is the team good this year?
Oh, the girls volleyball team's on fire.
Okay.
They actually are probably going to make the playoffs.
Really?
They beat Louisiana Tech last night, and I think they're playing someone else today. But they are a up and coming. And then here come women basketball. So all of a sudden, it's not just men's football and men's basketball. It's the whole UTEP athletic department programs.
Yeah.
For the girls to have a great volleyball team, and I couldn't understand why we didn't have a competitive. They're past competitive now. They're good. They're like a team to beat.
Okay.
So they're doing great. So I got to include them because my favorite line. I hope you notice is "Somos Mineros."
Yep. I like that. We are miners.
We
Yes,
are
sir.
miners.
Yep.
Doesn't matter
Amen to
what the sport is. Look at the football team. 4-1. It was homecoming. It was the first Conference USA game, and they said there was only like 12,500.
I think 11,000 something. You're right. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so if they win, they're coming back next week. But if they win, they're going to be 5-1, and the game next week in the Sun Bowl would be to qualify with 6
for a bowl
wins
game. Yep.
for a bowl game.
Yes, sir.
And that's an achievement, okay? Now they'll say, well, why do you want to send a bowl game? They'll get slaughtered. I went to the New Mexico Bowl when they played, and the game was over in the second quarter. But that's not the point. The point is they achieved it. Now people say, oh, Abel, they haven't beat anybody. That's your opinion.
Well, 6-1. I mean,
if you look at what their season is, they're 4-1.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And no matter what, I mean, numbers are numbers. I mean, no matter how you got to number 6, you got there. I mean, you qualified for a bowl. Hey, don't knock it. But let me ask you that.
Quality of wins only counts when you're trying to get in the final 4 of the playoffs. That's when the quality of the win comes in.
The RPI, right?
Yeah, all that. They have to put computer numbers into it.
Well, let me ask you this. So right now, we'll start with football and then go to basketball. What do you predict?
But by the way, we're talking about Mineros in Español. I want to make sure that everyone knows that I have a sports writer who is writing exclusively for Mineros in Español, and his name is Javier Sanchez.
Okay.
Now, Javier Sanchez has written sports stories and boxing stories and everything stories in sports for the last 40 years.
Really?
So I picked him up as the reporter, which is really great because I make him do little video vignettes about tell us how, the end of the game or whatever. And we get almost 100, 150 views per small video. So the page is working and it's getting a lot of good reach. And I think by this time heading into the fall, I'm going to try to see if they would allow me to put it on a my streaming channel.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And stream the games
in Spanish.
So I'm starting to work on that, but I had to build a bigger audience on that page in order to let them know, hey, this is working, and with the page, and then I'm in a new system where I could build a website in a day, and have it up there, and then have Mineros in Español website page, and then have that with the Facebook and probably Instagram, and then have those 3, and then try to monetize the situation.
But let's go back to what you said earlier, Abel, because you're right about the demographics of the Spanish listener. I mean, considering that we're one of the biggest, if not one of the biggest urban, border to border, having a border, a town, what do you call it?
The largest landlocked border in this side of the
and the thing is, not having Spanish Spanish sports, especially from the minors, which you did. Excuse me, I have allergies. You've been doing for many years. I think you should be commended for that because that's the demographic that people want to know. Because, yeah, you can watch the sport, basketball, whatever you want to watch, but if you don't understand it, you don't get to pull, the thrill or this or that. And that's what I'm saying. For me, I just think, just like you said, I'm amazed that there hasn't been a bigger I guess, apparatus or machine regarding the Mexican culture or Mexican audience. It's amazing.
Well, it's one of those things, I mean, I remember, speaking with people there at the university, and some of them said that they were told that the people that speak Spanish aren't really interested in American football, which I totally disagree on.
Yeah.
And the fact that ask the Dallas Cowboys how many Mexican fans follow them,
Yep.
And to think that out of that 65% that I tried to feed off of, that all of them are not just about soccer. They're
Well, Abel,
about
think
American football and American basketball, and
Well, think about this, Abel. Remember when the Cowboys? I don't know if they have. I don't think they've done it this year, but years past, the Cowboys would go to Mexico City, $100,000 seat stadium, boom, filled.
and they still do the games. They do still do the Dallas Cowboy games in Spanish.
Okay, there
The
you go.
NFL team's got a bunch. Some of the places you wouldn't believe have Spanish. Have
Well,
Spanish.
like you
broadcast.
said, money.
Yeah. You just got to have a good sales force, or that's someone that'll support and say, you know what, I'll back that up. And it's always about funding. Okay,
Sure.
it costs money to fly somewhere. It costs money to stay there, even if it's for one day. It costs money to have the equipment that'll work right. And that's all before you even try to make a profit.
Yep. Amen to that.
It's an interesting thing, and I'm not done with it yet. Believe me.
No, and then you done a lot with it, Abel, considering that at one point they stopped, UTEP, the component regarding the Mexican sport or Spanish sports, and now you brought it back again. Which, like I said, I see those posts, Abel, and I see those hits on the videos. I'm like, wow, it's catching quick. It really picking up real
but
quick.
here it is. I'm just one person, George. Trying to make this work, and that's okay. I don't mind. I'm a strong believer in the fact that on the university there is actually a group that are a group on Facebook that's about Mexican, that you have to be a graduate of UTEP and a Mexican national to get on that page. So what does that tell you?
Yeah.
That
No,
tells
but
you
know what?
that UTEP academics believes that they need to talk to that part of their community.
But let me tell you this, Abel, and so people can kind of put this in
Y si
perspective.
hablo español.
The thing is, people don't realize that, or they do or don't, But the point is, post production, like when I used to do my shows at Abel's studio, he would always be like, and right before the show, he'd be doing this, and I'm like, what is he doing? Why is it? But now that I do it on my end, because you got to, that's just at the time when you're about to do broadcast, but you have to do production or promotions, editing, posting, making sure all the equipment's working right. Like right now, we're messing with the other computer with the website. So it's a lot of stuff. And for one person, I give you a lot of credit because that's a lot of work, man. It's a lot
George,
of work.
we were even going to another place before we even started coming
Yep.
over here. And, seeing, it's a lot simpler, but it's still knowing what works together as far as equipment and software and all that stuff. That's where they get you. So you find a good software, but then you find out it doesn't work on, like,
Right, yep.
you have to use like Firefly or whatever the other search engine is.
And the thing about that is,
What's it called? Firefox.
Firefox,
Yeah,
Firefly, Firefox, yeah.
One of those.
Well,
But you have to learn all that along with the knowledge of doing the game or talking sports. It's just one of those things.
oh yeah, I want to ask you that before. I can ask you later, but I'll ask you now before I forget. When you get ready for a game, Abel, like let's say today, for example, how would you do it? Like, would you have notes, like every player? Like, how would you? Because I never understood. It might be a visual thing because I am visually impaired. How do you like boom 85? You give all these stats on number 85 or whatever. How would you do that? I mean, that's just amazing.
Well, they have believe it or not, they have a lot of things to assist people nowadays. Back then, I used to be a spotter for Teicher on the English.
Okay.
So Teicher's going, first and 10, hands off to number 24. What's his name? And he gains 10 yards, and then I'd have to look at the number of the opposite team's player who tackled him and point to the name so he could say tackle made by so and so team.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And you had to be fast.
Okay.
Now they have stat things that you just plug into the computer get on that website, and it throws you all the stats. The game
So you
is
mean you would literally able? You would literally be like that, point to that. Damn, that'd be hard. You know
well,
what I'm saying?
not only that, but I'm viewing through binoculars.
Okay.
So
Wow.
I'm having to look for stuff and look for names, and what if three guys did a sack,
Yep.
and you think all three of their names and their numbers are all right together?
No.
No. So and then sometimes there are double numbers. I don't know why, but on offense some guy will wear 12, and on defense another guy will wear 12.
Now the number should coincide with their position, right? Like in the 70s, they're one thing. 80s, they're 190. Is that true or no? Like in other words, the 20s and below are like the running backs and the quarterbacks. The 30s are the running back or the something like that, or the 70s and 80s are.
Yeah. When you get into the bigger numbers, it's usually like the linebackers, the offensive line, the defensive line, like that.
Yeah.
It's just what it is.
Well, let me go. So, going back to the predictions for UTEP, this football and basketball. What do you say right now for football? How are they going to end the season?
Well, they still got 3 more home games. So if people get behind them, and by the way, it's the start of the second quarter, and it's still 7-7.
Oh wow, okay.
I believe they're gonna win 6 games. The way the conference set everything up for them this year, as far as the schedule, the big game is going to be when they play San Antonio.
USTA,
University of Texas at San Antonio, UTSA. Yeah. Those guys are on fire, man. They're like undefeated.
Really?
I don't know how they're doing right now. I should check, but that's going to be the big test game to see how good they got since they won all these games, leading up to playing that caliber of team. UTSA. It gets talked a lot about now on Sports Center.
Really?
Oh yeah. So
I always thought it was a Division II school. I don't know why.
No. They were, but they built it into a Division I, and then they came into Conference USA. So.
How about basketball?
Basketball is going to be interesting. New coach, Coach Golding. Golding, right?
Golden, yeah.
He's here. I've been to a lot of his practices now. I see his approach, and to me he reminds me of a young Tim Floyd, the way he coaches.
Really?
He is very aggressive with the guys, but he's aggressive to the point of actually chasing the ball down to show them that they're 2 feet away from where they should be, and they got, excuse me, they have quite a bit of players on the bench. So they've got plenty of players, and we're gonna have to see what happens. As it is, the one thing about me is that I'm on the Don Haskins West Star Bank Sunbolt basketball tournament, and they're the defending champs because there wasn't a one last year, but UTEP is the defending champ. So let's see how he takes that. You know what I mean? It's a city tournament. He doesn't have to travel. The other 3 teams have to travel, and he's got a chance to repeat and show off, and then there'll be a couple games after that, and then they head straight into conference.
I forgot about the carnival.
Don't forget about that. That's my bud, Don Haskins.
I know. How was he, Abel? What kind of person was he?
Oh my God, he was a great person.
Was he?
He was just basically when anybody would ask him why he started 5 African Americans in the championship game, his only line was, "I started my best 5 players."
Amen to that.
That was it.
That's it. That's the way it's supposed to be.
He grew up poor in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But because of sports, sports lifted him up, and he went to play college ball. But he had a black friend, I forget his name, who was as good as him, and was not picked up by college and had to go join the Army. And that really bothered him.
Yeah.
Bothered him a lot because he was a very good basketball player.
And the thing is,
forget his name.
But the thing is, those experiences that you've had, like meeting Don Haskins, being on the field, those are something that 99.9 people are not never going to have that in their lifetime. So I mean, you've been very privileged in that aspect because I'm a big huge UTEP. I'm wearing my UTEP shirt.
Right, Sean.
I'm a huge UTEP fan, and just to be there like living it through you, I'm like, that's why I ask you all these questions. I'm like, wow, that is cool. I'm like a little kid right now. But the thing is,
that's cool, yeah. But believe me, I was like a little kid. Imagine that because of me being a good photographer, I was able to go cover NCAA basketball games when they were really, really good as a sports photographer.
Yeah.
I saw them, and I was just enamored with knowing that I could walk on the court at the Pit in Albuquerque.
Right? Exactly. I
know how if there's any city that loves to beat the crap out of UTEP every year, it's Albuquerque.
Yep.
Followed by Las Cruces.
Yep. And we're going to my story. I met him once, Don Haskins once. Many years ago, my mom knew a friend of ours, my mom's friend. She had a bar. And one day my mom and that lady were talking, and my mom says, why don't you, my son wants to get a job. I started working when I was 15 years old, but because of the permit. And so the lady said, yeah, come and clean on Sundays, Saturday and Sunday mornings. I go vacuum the bar and whatnot. I remember one day, it's something I could still see. So I'm vacuuming. We had the front door open, so you could see the sun coming in. I'm vacuuming, all of a sudden, the whole door gets dark. I'm like, holy snickies, who the hell is that? It's just a big guy. I turn around, but the sun was still in my face, and he walks by, and I'm like, that. I'm like, I couldn't even talk. I'm like, Don Haskins. And my mom said that, because my mom was a bartender, and she said he would do the same thing. Not all the time, but whenever he went, get one beer, drink it halfway, and leave it $20. That's it. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. You come in, drink a half a beer, $20, and take off. I'm like, wow, that's cool.
He had a little. He traveled around.
A
lot of people knew him because of his visits to some of these smaller, at that time, not quite sports bars, but
no, this one was called
If he was there, was it the Hideaway?
No, this was I know that one. No, this one was called Cousins.
Oh yeah, Cousins.
You remember Cousins? Yeah.
I remember Cousins.
That was back in the day. Yeah. But
that was the best part of him is he traveled around. He loved the city, and come on, he was a great guy, and he was a guy. He had a great time living his life, and it was just a privilege to be around him. I also was able to they let me be the announcer to some of the games live on the basketball court, and I'll never forget the first time I did it. And then I went back to the press conference, and everyone's waiting for him to come in so they could start asking him questions about the game. And he comes in and he looks at me, and the first thing he says, "Abel did pretty good."
Really?
Yeah,
that's cool. I gotta ask you this, Abel. This is not part of sports, and I do apologize, everyone. I saw this story yesterday, and I shared it on Facebook. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think you or Hector spoke to I went blank with her name. She was a blind representative.
Anita Blair.
Did you ever talk to her?
That up, yes. Oh yeah, Anita Blair was. Let me tell you something. She didn't take nobody's.
I had to ask you about that because I think that was so cool that you actually had a chance to speak with her.
No, she would always call all the talk shows. She always called Paul Strelzin, and she'd say what she needed to say. She was a very strong lady, and I think she should be honored. You had
a history with Paul Strelzin too, right?
Yeah. I go back with Paul Strelzin when I was a kid growing up and going to Cathedral, and one time I was walking down Piedras all depressed about something because I was a dumb kid, and he saw me and he came back around in his Mustang and he picked me up. He said, "Get in the car." I'm like,
"Wow, really?"
He said, "What's wrong?" "See you walking with your head down." That's just the way he was. He was a very powerful personality. And I miss him. I miss him to death.
I bet you do. Yeah. So before we go, I wanted to talk about what you're doing right now. Like we talked at the beginning of the show. And before I go any further, I just want to tell people that this coming Saturday, hopefully it doesn't change the time anyways. At 2:00, I'm going to have Daniel Villegas. You had a chance to interview him. I know you told me. I should have him next Saturday at 2 p.m. I'm going to have him follow up with Paul Garcia. Part 2, we had some more spicy stuff to talk about. Trust me, folks. I was really nice the first time. The second time, we're really gonna. He allowed me to open the doors in regard to our discussions. And then, by the way, folks, thank you for the support. That video, as of this morning, has 600 views. So I do appreciate that.
There you go, man. Get it to 1,000. Get it to 1,000.
Right? So things are picking up regarding people want to come on the show. Thanks to you, Abel. Going back to when we first met. But with your show, I like the Annie's Adventures. She brings a lot of different people. And matter of fact, one of the ones we went to, one of the restaurants that you featured on your show, or Anna's Adventures. But just give everyone a roundup before we go, like everything you're doing, because I think they should really follow that stuff because it's not just politics. I know you talk about politics. I do too.
Well, I haven't in a long time, by the way.
No, I know that, but I'm saying we want to mix it up.
I'm getting ready to really kick up a dialogue podcast with Abel Rodriguez, only because I'm just really upset with the Mexican American Cultural Center.
Yes.
And where they're going to put it. And it's not what I voted for. And it's funny because we're all the Chicanos.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the topic on that, because when the meetings were being put together with all these people that were coming together, old, historic Mexican Americans, Chicanos, fighters for the people, that type, they were all in these meetings, and it was great. And then the city formed a commission about what are we going to name it, and nobody wanted to name it the Mexican American Cultural Center. And it was just a crazy thing. But after all that settled down, and Oscar Leeser was still mayor, there was meetings about retrofitting the Abraham Chavez Theater to make it fit there, and I thought that was fantastic, And then Oscar Leeser did not run for mayor again, and we got what's his face,
DeMargo,
and everything that was planned went down the toilet.
And what's funny, Abel? Now that you're saying that, it kind of parallels what you were talking about earlier about the Spanish sports not being as big as it is, even despite the fact that we're 80 or 65, whatever you want to say, percentage of Latinos or Mexicans. But yet, now I'm thinking about what you're saying. They want to put the Mexican American Center in the little second floor or third floor, I forgot where, in the library.
Yeah, they're going to retrofit it in the downtown library.
When it should be his own standing facility, and it's just amazing.
And why would you want to mess with actually what I believe is probably one of the most historical libraries we have in the city? Yep. It's got basements. It's got a basement with pictures of the past.
Yep.
And you could go down there and stay down there for hours and find all these pictures, And now they're going to share it, and I saw the groundbreaking on Facebook for it, and talking about all these educated people that deal with culture and museums using these lines, or we studied this and we that, and you know what papel picado is?
No.
Exactly. Papel picado is a way of decorating where they make they punch paper. Like the kind of paper you put in a present.
Oh yeah, that's a crepe paper. That's a
they pop images into it, and then they string it on a rope, on string, and then they put it up as decoration.
Okay. But I've seen it. Now that you're talking about,
but I know, but you know, but it's not centered to what we want there.
Yeah.
We want to hear stories. We want to hear the story of El Paso and Ruben Salazar, who worked for the Los Angeles Times and was murdered during a march.
Yep.
We want to hear about Rudy Tellez, who is the executive producer for The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, who's from El Paso.
Really?
We want to hear of John Siqueiros, a radio announcer who worked in New York City, who is from Segundo Barrio.
Mm.
I want to hear their stories.
Yep.
And these guys are talking about papel picado and, mariachis and ballet folklore. All of that is, don't get me wrong, it fits, but it's got to be much more than just that. Well,
not only that, Abel, but like you said, it talks about our culture here in El Paso. Because you could go to San Antonio, San Diego, you go to Houston, but the culture here in El Paso, I know for a fact because I lived in Dallas for, 3 years, a little bit in Austin, and the culture's totally, totally different compared to here in El Paso. And I just think that we're losing that sense of who we are, what we are. Our family came from Mexico. I'm proud to say that. My grandma came from the hills in Chihuahua. The little Indian people, that's my grandma's family, her heritage. My dad came from from Chihuahua. So we have that bond, but we're not just.
Those
just
are the
amazing.
stories, man, that I want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to
mean,
hear the stories about a guy named Rafael Palomar
Hmm.
who immigrated with his family from Chihuahua, ended up in Second Ward in the mid 60s, growing up, gets to his mom gets upset because there's too much drive-by shooting back in the mid 60s in the barrio area, and moves to Isleta. And here's his 6-foot kid, about 16, 17 years old, 6'7" kid. And he gets to Isleta, and right away they saw him in the hallway and said, "You're playing basketball."
Mm-hmm.
And he had only played basketball, like on the street and all that. And the first game at Isleta, he gets 41 rebounds.
Really?
It's still the record for rebounds in one game. Rafael Palomar, because of basketball, UTEP noticed him. They sent him to junior college in Idaho. He went with 4 black African Americans, and they went up there and played, and then they did their 2 years. UTEP did not have a space for him, so he went to college. His junior year, he goes to Texas Tech.
Wow.
This is a Mexican American at Texas Tech in Lubbock in 1967, I think it was. Think about that.
And he played in the Olympics too, right?
Yeah, he ended up getting into the Mexican national team, and he traveled all over the world because of basketball. And you don't want to hear the funny part about immigration, because it all goes back to immigration. Here's the funny part. His parents come over here for a better life. They have a big family. They want everybody to at least get a high school diploma and then go out and work so they can bring money back to the family. Mm-hmm. So they didn't understand the opportunity that playing sports in the United States of America meant. They just understand nomás está jugando basketball. It was so funny. He tells a story of when his mom finally went to see him play basketball for the first time, and someone almost poked his eye out.
Oh, really?
So after the game was over, his mom was yelling at him, saying, "¿Por qué quieres jugar en este juego donde te pueden sacar el ojo?" Because they didn't understand the opportunity that he was going to get anyway, because he stayed playing basketball. Then he went back and played with the Mexican Nationals. He played against Michael Jordan, for God's sake.
Wow.
And who's going to know his story?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You're right. You're right.
Our chavalitos? Yeah. Our chavalitos are going to miss all this history.
Yeah. Or not only that, Abel, not only that, but what you're saying, that story might inspire a child in Segundo Barrio or someone in Lower Valley, like, hey, you know what? That was cool. What I'm saying is...
It's already happening, George.
Yeah.
We got a guy from Tornillo that's scoring soccer goals for the United States of America.
Really?
He was in the World Cup preliminaries that they're having right now, these soccer games, and he put in the 2 goals.
From Tornillo?
Yes.
Oh, wow. See, I didn't know that. See? But you want to hear that. I do want to hear. I love stuff like that because...
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. And here's another thing. People don't always watch the news anymore.
True.
People don't always watch sports. So where do they pick it up? They're going to pick it up from you and me talking about it.
Yes, sir.
Because they follow on a certain page or something.
Yep.
What we do is important. It's like we're grains of sand on the beach, but all together we form the beach.
Yeah.
You know what
right?
I mean? Yeah, if it wasn't for the grains of sand, there ain't gonna be no beach. So
and that's what
to me is a beach full of grains of sand, and each one of them has a different type of thing happening on each grain.
And that's one thing I've learned, Abel, doing this from where you've kind of shown me the ropes and whatnot. I've learned, and I've had people tell me, you know what, George, I appreciate you just letting me come on and talk. Just my thing is always to give out information. Like when I do the politicians, it's up to you. If you want to vote for them, that's your choice. My thing is just to give you that information as a community service. It's up to you. I might be against them or not. Like when I had one particular, I won't say his name. A particular candidate that running for the mayor, I got so much crap for it. Why did you do this? Why? I'm like, hey, it doesn't mean I support him. I'm just giving you the information. It's up to you to vote.
You must have learned that from me. I want to remind everybody that Ricardo Samaniego, County Judge Ricardo Samaniego, started his campaign right here on Dialogue Radio.
Yes, you did. You're right. Yeah. And he showed up twice in my show.
And I told him, I said, hey, what other media is going to let you talk for an hour and a half?
Yep.
and
Well,
not
I
edit.
think from you, Abel, like from what I've gained from you, it's an opportunity to have guests on my show, like John Caudillo. Remember, he was running for Congress.
Yeah, he ran for Congress.
Well, heck, remember when we did that congressional thing
Oh,
at
you
EPCC?
kidding? That was a big feather in the dialogue internet radio cap.
Yep.
You doing that and then doing it from a point of view of people involved with dealing with
Disabilities.
politics who deal with disability.
And then we had what 300, almost 350
Yeah, we
people
had a
there.
live crowd of 300 people.
Yeah. And the thing
we
is,
streamed it live, unedited, and it went all the way through.
yep. And the thing is, people don't realize that this is what I want to do. Just give out like you right now. We're talking about sports. The different with your perspective on sports, and I appreciate you coming on. And whenever you want to come on, Abel, hey, hey George, I want to come on. You know that for a fact. Talking about that, I had a call about Mr. Abel. Was a contributor. What does that mean? Well, we contribute sports and politics. Abel's my guy when he talks about politics, especially. And now we're gonna have a legal contributor. His name is
Yeah, you
Jason.
told me.
Jason Galtwright. He's gonna be coming on
Bring him
the
on,
show,
man. Bring him on.
talking about different stuff. From a legal perspective. So it's
Right.
kind of building. I appreciate all the work that
Well,
Abel.
now more and more people are accepting what we do, like as they wanna hear it. So
Yeah.
it's working out pretty good. And as usual, George, I love coming on your show and talking with you and letting everybody know that you can follow me at Dialogue Podcast with Abel Rodriguez Facebook page. You can go there, and you can also follow all the podcast programs that we put on dialogueep.com Facebook page, and that'll take you to all the ones we have. And if you ever want to email me, it's abel@dialogueep.com, and you can send me hey, I want to be on your show or whatever. And we got some interesting things coming. We might have, believe it or not, Latinos Matter back on.
Oh, cool.
Which I'm really
All right.
happy about, with Hector Montes and Emily Howdegi. And then also next Friday we'll be having a interview through one of our contributors named Mojo.
Oh, okay.
Who has
She's
happened
cool.
to capture an interview with the Republican candidate who is running against Dan Patrick for Attorney General for the state of Texas.
Folks,
That's me being me, and the people like you that say, "Hey, well, because of you." Mojo's the same way, and she feels that this would be the place to do it. So we're excited. That'll be happening next Friday.
folks, I'm telling you, Mojo, she's one of those that don't take crap. She'll tell you how it is, and if you don't like it, you gotta watch out for. By the way, before I forget, the Annie's Adventure is live, right? On 4:15, 4 o'clock on Wednesdays, or when
When
is
we
it?
do it on Wednesdays, yeah, she's live at about 4 o'clock, 4:10.
How about the Tiger podcast?
No, we do that on Zoom, and then I just put it on a real nice edit with a front and a back, and then I put it up immediately.
Okay, and then we had one. I do want to touch this before we go. The one about the real guys, the reels.
Oh, the real screeners.
Yeah.
Lenny Jurado and what's the other kid's name? I met him at Comic-Con, El Paso Comic-Con, and I found out about him, and I told him, and looks like we're going to be doing some things with them, and the Alamo Draft House looks like it's going to be playing with us a little bit. So I'm happy with what's coming up, and hopefully by next year I'll make $100, and my wife will be happy.
We've got right. So, but Abel, before we go, gotta tell you something. What I asked you every time you come on, I have to ask you to do that, to do the closeout.
Oh man!
Come on, this is my good luck.
I haven't done it in a while, but I'll do it for you, man. Hey, listen, I'm very happy that I've been on the No Vision Internet Radio Network with my buddy George, and I guess it's that time to say, be safe, wear a mask, and te wacho raza.